Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tearing into one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, wildest novels ever written, Emily Bronte's timeless and tumultuous masterpiece, Wuthering Heights.
Right. Let's just dive straight into this Gothic classic. I mean, how does a novel that's over 175 years old, a story of obsessive love and brutal revenge, still feel so incredibly raw and haunting today? Well, we're going to figure that out.
And to do that, we have to start at the novel's dark, beating heart, a passionate relationship that's so powerful it's almost transcendent, but also so intense it burns everything and everyone to the ground. So, first thing you need to know, this is not your typical romance. The connection between Catherine and Heathcliff, it was forged out on those bleak, wild Yorkshire moors. It's elemental, a bond so deep it defines their entire lives. For better, and as we're about to see, for much, much worse. And then comes the moment. The one choice that just breaks everything. Catherine decides to marry Edgar Linton, and it sets off this catastrophic chain reaction. And her choice, well, it isn't really about love. It's a calculated move for social status, for the security he can give her. This really boils it all down, doesn't it? This isn't just a simple love triangle. It's a full-on clash between two completely different worlds. On one side, you have Heathcliff. He is primal, untamed emotion. He's the guy she famously says is more myself than I am. And on the other side, Edgar Linton, who represents safety, society, and everything that's proper. So what happens when she makes that choice? What does that one decision unleash? Well, it doesn't just break a heart. Oh no, it ignites a firestorm of revenge that's going to consume everyone it touches, not just for a little while, but across generations. For Heathcliff, this is the ultimate betrayal. And his pain, his despair, it doesn't just fade away. It transforms, it twists and curdles into something so much more dangerous. This is one of the most amazing things about the book, watching how the most passionate love can morph into this destructive, all-consuming force. And here's the crucial part. Heathcliff's revenge isn't some impulsive, heat-of-the-moment thing. It is a cold, methodical, and absolutely ruthless plan that he carries out over years. He doesn't just go after the people who wronged him. He targets their children too, making sure this vicious cycle goes on and on. Okay, to really get these characters and why they're so raw, you have to understand where they live. Because in Wuthering Heights, the setting is not just a backdrop. It's a living, breathing character that shapes every single person in the story. I mean, just picture it. These wild, rugged, totally isolated moors. The landscape itself is basically a mirror of what's going on inside the characters. The weather can whip from calm to a violent storm in an instant, and honestly, so can their passions. It's the perfect reflection of the primal instincts driving this whole story. And the novel's central conflict is just perfectly captured in its two main houses. You've got Wuthering Heights, which is raw and stormy and untamed, just like Heathcliff. And then you have Thrushcross Grange, all civilized, refined, and a little bit constrained, just like the Lintons. These two places are symbols for that constant war between wild passion and buttoned-up society. As if all that wasn't intense enough, Bronte then throws in ghosts and all these supernatural elements. But Catherine's ghost, for instance, isn't just there for a cheap scare. No, it's there to show us that this unresolved passion, this inescapable past, it literally haunts the living, blurring the lines between life and death. Now, for me, the true genius of this novel isn't just in what it says, but in how it says it. Bronte uses this really innovative and complex structure that was so ahead of its time. It basically forces you, the reader, to become a detective. It's structured as something called a frame narrative. It's kind of like those Russian nesting dolls. We don't get the story directly. Instead, we hear it from a narrator who's hearing it from someone else. This was revolutionary because it challenges you. You have to actively piece the story together from these different and often really biased perspectives, and you're never quite sure who you can trust. So we get the story through two main filters. First, there's this guy, Mr. Lockwood, a total outsider who stumbles into this hornet's nest and has no idea what's going on. Then he gets the main story from Nellie Dean, the housekeeper. Now, she's an insider, she knows everything, but her story is totally shaped by her own judgments and opinions. It creates this brilliant ambiguity where you're constantly questioning what's really true.
So, after all the darkness, all the revenge, all the turmoil, why are we still talking about this incredibly complex story almost 2 centuries later? What is it about this book that makes it stick?
You gotta understand, when Wuthering Heights came out, it was a bombshell. It completely shattered the traditional Victorian ideas of what a polite romance or a moral story should be. It dared to explore the darker, obsessive parts of being human with this shocking honesty. It's no wonder it paved the way for so many other writers and has been adapted into pretty much everything you can think of.
And this is why it still matters. This isn't just some dusty book from history class. The core themes, they're absolutely timeless. Obsession, revenge, social class, the devastating consequences of emotions running wild. I mean, these are all things we're still grappling with today in our own lives.
Ultimately, I think Wuthering Heights is so enduring because it refuses to give you easy answers. There are no clear heroes or villains. It just forces you to look at the most intense, primal, and often uncomfortable parts of being human. That terrifying place where love, hate, and revenge all get tangled up until you can't tell them apart anymore.
And that leaves us with one final huge question, the one at the very heart of this unforgettable novel. Is a love, this all-consuming, a transcendent spiritual force that can even defy death, or is it just a terrifying engine of pure destruction? The most brilliant and maybe frustrating part is the book never really decides. It leaves that for you to ponder long after you've turned the final page.